As a business owner, when things aren't going well, when you are exhausted, you're overwhelmed, you're burnt out, you're not getting the results you need, you're freaking out about how you're going to pay the bills, you can fill in the rest of the blanks. The thing that we most want to do is just escape the pain and find a solution as quickly as possible. But when we jump to find that solution too quickly, we can keep ourselves in the very cycle that we are stuck in that I'm going to be unpacking in today's lesson. What we need to do instead is take a breath and make sure that we're even understanding the problem in the first place. Because until we understand the problem, chances are we're going to keep looking for band aid solutions that may help one little thing in the short term while actually creating more problems longer term. And so today, what we're going to do is really talk about how we get into these vicious cycles as business owners, cycles that keep us in a state of burnout and overwhelm, of putting in so much effort and never seeming to get the results to actually match that effort, and how we solve this cycle once and for all. Because ultimately, there is one root cause of pretty much every single one of these issues. And it took me far too long to figure this out for myself. So I am really hoping that no matter where you're at right now, that what we talk about today gives you this opportunity to get yourself back on solid ground and to realize that there is a way out of this, that you are not hopeless or useless or just doomed to fail, but there is something that has been playing out for a long time, and it's time to put that to rest. Now, we obviously all have our own business backstories, our origin stories, and some of us get into business with a lot more intention and strategy. Some of us, i.e., me, get into business because it's like a survival tactic. I had quit my career in musical theater, was in absolute financial distress, didn't know what I was doing with my life, and realized I had copywriting skills. And one day I wake up and realize I've got a copywriting business, except it wasn't completely a business. Like, I was selling my services, making money, actually decent money, meanwhile, still not actually knowing how to run a real business, which is how I ended up in some of these vicious cycles that we're going to be talking about today. For you, you might have gotten into business with a lot more forethought. It's something that you considered for a while and then you did it. But I feel like for so many of us who identify as solopreneurs or small business owners, there is this common thread, which is that despite the fact that we absolutely chose to get into business and obviously had natural skills or gifts that allowed us to start making money in whatever it is that we do, we also have this fear that we are not cut out for it and we don't really know what we're doing, because the fact is they don't teach this in school. I mean, even if you go to college and you get an MBA, there is only so many things that they teach you that are usable, and then the rest you have to figure out as you go. The point is, we often get to this point where things aren't going well, and that could be 6 months into business or it could be 6 years into business. But that belief that we don't know what we're doing and that clearly everyone else around us knows so much more than we know and has it together starts us on this unhealthy cycle of looking around and starting to try and reverse engineer what other people are doing to be successful. We're like, well, I clearly don't know what I'm doing, but so and so is packaging their services this way. And oh, they're selling things at this price. So maybe I should do that. Oh, hang on. So and so is over there on Instagram now and they're killing it. Oh, they do lives every single week. Maybe I should do lives. And we start to sort of build this strategy based on what we see other successful people doing. But it gets more and more complicated and more heavy and overwhelming and difficult to sustain. And also, we're not getting the results that those people are getting. So it only adds to this story that, oh, I'm inadequate some way. Like, I'm just not cut out for business. They clearly have something that I don't have. And so then we can start to reach further and go, well, maybe I need to hire some experts who are going to do the marketing for me. Maybe I'm going to sign up for this program that guarantees results because I can just follow the roadmap that this person followed to get to multiple six figures. And maybe I can pay for this expensive software or these templates or something that's going to help compensate for my lack of ability as a business owner. But all we are really doing is grabbing from the outside and trying to chuck it together to build out this strategy that only gets more and more difficult to sustain. This is what I call creating from the outside in. And this is a very general example that I've been giving you, but I want to give you something a little bit more specific, an example that plays out time and time again with my clients. And I have completely been guilty of this in the past too. We go, ooh, everyone's talking about podcasts right now. And that is clearly something that is helping people grow their businesses. So I'm going to start a podcast. And we're full of hope, excitement, and we commit. And often we overcommit. Like before we've even started recording and, outlining our episodes, we're like signing up for software. We're buying expensive microphones. Like we're doing whatever we can to try and again compensate for this sense of inadequacy, for this fear that it's not going to work. But the pressure starts to build because we are overcommitted and maybe we've announced that this podcast is coming and it starts to feel really heavy. Then we get started on the process and we realize it's not as easy as we thought it was maybe going to be. It's not some magical quick fix. Like you launch your podcast and you've got a couple of episodes out there and you're like, okay, just wait for the clients to roll in. And then the clients don't roll in. In fact, no one's even listening to your podcast yet. And you're like, what? Oh, this sucks. And so we can go through different phases of frustration and despair. And then eventually we give up and we're disappointed. And then we realize, oh, hang on, it's TikTok. Everyone's on TikTok these days. That's what I need. And we get hopeful and we get excited and we commit and we start. And this cycle keeps going because what's going on here is that we assume that there is some external strategy, something outside of us that is going to make all the difference. And before actually really pressure testing it for ourselves, before making sure that it is actually the right strategy for us, we commit, we go all in. And we go in with unrealistic expectations about both the outcomes and also what is required from us in order to make this thing succeed. Spoiler alert, it always involves more time, more energy, and more consistency and like basically being able to sit in the discomfort of doing the work without getting any results to begin with. And we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And this keeps us on the hamster wheel. So that is a much more specific example of what outside in creation looks like. And the real issue here, I mean, there's many issues, but at the absolute heart of it, we have never once stopped to really address, okay, what are my needs? What are my goals? What are my desires? Like, what am I trying to achieve? And also, what do I have available in me and around me in order to make this happen? How much time do I have? How much energy do I have? What existing skills and knowledge do I have? Do I have any team members to support me? What softwares am I already paying for? What office equipment, recording gear could I utilize that I already have right now? Is this thing practical? Is this realistic? Is this sustainable? And this is really just the you of it all. Now we also need to expand it a little further and think about your audience and your business model and like who are you trying to reach? And sure, for some people, TikTok is absolutely the place to be, but is it the place to be for your particular audience? Are your audience craving podcasts with you? I mean, does it make sense in their own buyer journey? Because, a buyer journey for someone who's going to be purchasing copywriting services looks very different to someone who's signing up for coaching, someone who is hiring a real estate agent, someone who's hiring a graphic designer. All of these are very different. And when our audience discovers us and how long they spend making a decision is going to factor into then what kind of strategies, tactics, and platforms that we utilize that are going to be most successful for us. So the inside out process brings it back to the absolute essentials, which is first of all, you. Okay, what are you bringing to the table? What are you trying to achieve? How are you built to operate naturally? What lights you up? What do you actually find enjoyable and where do you struggle? What are your challenges? Because when we just pick one random strategy, one tactic or a platform without factoring those things in, before you know it, you could be committed to something that actually highlights your weaknesses and doesn't leverage your strengths. And this means two things. Number one, it means whatever you're doing is going to be unsustainable. Because if it's not leveraging your strengths, if it's not working within your natural limitations, and it's not something you actually enjoy or can fit in to your schedule realistically, you're not going to stick with it. And that already means you're not going to succeed because how are you going to achieve any results if you can't stick with something? But then the second thing it does is it is cutting you off from what makes you unique, what makes you magnetic, your unique blueprint that is made up of these skills, these strengths, this unique perspective, this background experience, your story, all of those things should be actually a part of your strategy because this gives you an opportunity to truly stand out. That if you are going to sort of shove yourself in this pre existing box that really limits you, like limits your strengths, but then also focuses on your weaknesses and forces you to try and change who you are in order to succeed at that, like you are missing this huge opportunity to be known for who you are. And that is the thing that is going to make you most magnetic. So, outside in creation is a guaranteed way to fail, to not achieve your goals, and to also make sure that this process is exhausting and overwhelming and just does not feel good. And I want both of these things to change for you. Like that is what this whole little mini series is about. I want us to find the way forward that is going to allow you to feel really good in the process, to actually enjoy what it is you're doing, knowing that yes, there is work involved. I'm not saying it's all going to be rainbows and butterflies, but like let's make it as enjoyable as possible. And I want you to make sure that whatever strategy you're utilizing is based on how you are built and how you are designed to stand out so that you are going to have the best chance of turning around these results. So, before we dive into some contemplation prompts and a little bit of homework, let's take a look at what it actually means to build from the inside out. Because I've alluded to the fact that when we build from the inside out, like I said, we start with you. You're at the center of all of this. And we're really making sure that we focus on your magnetism above all else. Then we look at your business model, and that business model is built literally on top of you. When you are a service provider, a solopreneur, even a small business owner where it's very founder first, like you are the face and the voice of your business needs to absolutely leverage your gifts. And so we are going to look at first, who are the people that you want to serve, that you're best equipped to serve, knowing everything it is that you have to offer. Then we make sure we get really clear on your promise, thing that is going to make you different to everybody else who does something maybe similar to you. When we're clear on that, we can figure out the best way to actually deliver on that promise with the way you package your expertise. Then we think about process of the delivery of your services, but also the process required or processes required to run your entire business so that we can maximize your capacity and make sure you're not just constantly getting stuck in little busy work loops. And then, of course, the thing that is going to amplify the magnetism of your business model is the proof, gathering evidence of your expertise, of the results that you get for your clients, getting social proof, developing case stories, you speaking on stages. Like there are so many different ways that we can create that proof. But this is the business model at the core of everything. Then we actually start to develop the stuff that we're really sharing with the world, because so much of your business model is about behind the scenes stuff. It's about developing strategy and coming up with that game plan. But now we're thinking about really amplifying this. So we start by looking at your method. And this is basically a way of packaging up your intellectual property and your unique way of doing things in a way that is easy for people to understand. So think in terms of frameworks and methodologies and things that are memorable, that help people kind of see what it is you're about. And it's part of the education process too, of how people are going to know what it's like to work with you. We then feed that into your messaging. So your messaging is how you articulate the value of what it is you do and make sure that you're in resonance with the ideal person that you want to work with. And your messaging then is what feeds your marketing. Now, obviously, the marketing is also fed by those decisions around who it is you're serving and what it is that you offer. Because, you selling something that is $400 and people do it once and then they're gone looks different to how we're going to market something that is $4,000 or $40,000, and that involves a lot more time and hands-on support. So there are so many different factors that are going to go into us choosing what we do in terms of marketing ourselves. But so often we approach our marketing in a silo, our messaging in our silo, and our offers in a silo. Everything is dealt with separately. And we are missing the point, which is this is all one big ecosystem that you're at the center of. And one of the things that we will be talking about more in future episodes is how also the importance of feeding yourself, like knowing that if you are the core source of magnetism, we need to make sure that you are well fed. What I mean by that is energetically, like, are you actually running on empty and unable to pour yourself into your business and do your best work? Well, we need to address that before we start trying to then fix all of these other moving pieces. Hence, this little series being called Operation Reset. It's like, okay, like let's get our priorities in order and really get all the way down to the basics and figure out what's been going on here, what are causing the issues, and then we can start to rebuild now with actual foundations in place. Now, like I said at the beginning of this lesson, this is about you better understanding the problem. We are not jumping into solving things yet. Trust me when I say that all of the lessons that come after this one are going to be about what we need to do to lay those foundations, right? So, what I want you thinking about today is where you have been outside inning it, okay? I want you to first think about all of the shoulds, all of the shoulds in your business, because there's probably a lot of them. Where have you been shoulding yourself? Or like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, or because of something you heard, or just some belief that you are holding. Because a should is already an outside in red flag. Then, what I also want you to do is have a look at some of the key elements of your business. Okay. So have a think about your ideal audience, your people. Have a think about your product, the way your offers are packaged, and then have a think about your marketing. So some of the different choices that you've been making in how people hear about you. So maybe you're online in some way, but maybe you also go to some networking events. Maybe you do some physical paper marketing. Grab the two or three main things that you do for your business, and I want you to be honest with yourself. When you originally decided to do these things, what were those factors that went into you making this choice? Who influenced you? Was it the people that you were seeing around you? Was it other people in your industry who were doing really well? Was it because of a program that you took, a coach that you had? Now, there's no right or wrong answer here. All we want is an answer because, funnily enough, you could have taken on a strategy based on something outside in, and it can still turn out to be the right thing for you to be doing. So just because the motivation was misaligned at some point, I don't want you just throwing everything out and thinking you have to start over. It's just interesting for us to know how we were operating at the time. And then the next thing I want you to do to just be honest with yourself is for all those things that you wrote down, how are you feeling about them? Do they feel enjoyable? Do they feel sustainable? Do you wake up each day with a sense of dread about what you're going to be doing? Like, are there some days where you're like, oh, phew, I don't have to do that thing today? Or are you constantly looking for ways to outsource it or get it off your plate? Does it feel like you have other options available to you? Or are you doing these things because you feel like it's just the only way forward? This is all just to gather insight for ourselves, and we are not doing anything with this information right now. We have more work to do. You got to trust the process. Trust me in this, okay? But just know that already your subconscious is at work. And I believe what tends to happen when we do these kinds of exercises is we just start to notice everything a little bit more. We notice other patterns. We notice thoughts. Like, for instance, when you're scrolling, you might just tune in a little better to seeing a competitor and what goes through your mind when you see what they're doing. And it's just going to be revealing. So I want you to see this more as an exercise of holding up a mirror to yourself so that you can see clearly, because this is what we need first of all. Again, if you do not understand the problem, there is no way of actually creating a long term solution. So I hope this was at least a little bit insightful so far. I hope you feel better just knowing that there is a process in place, that I am with you on this journey now, and that we're going to figure this out together. And once you've done your exercises, celebrate yourself for just going there, for looking at this work, because I know that it can feel really difficult and overwhelming. And we're going to talk a lot more about all the feelings under the surface in our next lesson. So stay tuned for that. But I'm so glad to have you here, and I look forward to chatting with you on the next one. Bye for now.